Glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. The story begins with a sense of uncertainty. Israel's fate seems sealed in the chains of slavery, and Pharaoh's harsh rule is unyielding. The Israelites cry out to God, but their prayers feel unanswered, their faith strained. The mysterious question hangs in the air: will God truly deliver his people, or has the darkness consumed all hope? Exodus 6 verse 1. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Now you will see what I will do to Pharaoh, because of my mighty hand he will let them go, because of my mighty hand he will drive them out of his country." In this moment, God speaks directly to Moses, promising that despite the seeming impossibility of the situation, deliverance is near. The winds of change are stirring, but the power of Pharaoh's grip is still firm. God's revelation of himself. Moses, filled with doubt, hears the Lord reaffirm his identity. God's words echo through time: "I am the Lord, and I will fulfill the promises I made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." The mystery grows deeper as God speaks of his covenant and the significance of his name, which has remained hidden in the past. Exodus 6 verses 2-3. God also said to Moses, "I am the Lord. I appeared to Abraham, to Isaac and to Jacob as God Almighty, but by my name the Lord I did not make myself fully known to them." God reveals that his name, Yahweh, the Lord, has now come to be known to Moses. The revelation of God's name is the key to understanding his covenant and his power. This is no ordinary God, he is the God who is, who was, and who will be. Part 3, The Covenant Reaffirmed. God's promise to deliver the Israelites remains steadfast. He reaffirms that he will bring them out of Egypt, rescue them from slavery, and give them the land he promised to their ancestors. But he also reminds Moses that the people's faith in God has been shaken, their trust in his promises almost gone. Exodus 6 verses 4-5. I also established my covenant with them to give them the land of Canaan, where they resided as foreigners. Moreover, I have heard the groaning of the Israelites, whom the Egyptians are enslaving, and I have remembered my covenant. This covenant is not just a promise of land, it is a promise of freedom, of a new beginning. The Israelites will be rescued not because of their own strength but because of God's remembrance of his covenant. The promise of deliverance. Moses is instructed to tell the people of God's promises. However, they do not listen, overwhelmed by their misery and suffering. But the promise stands firm. God's plan cannot be thwarted by despair or doubt. Exodus 6 verses 6-9. Therefore, say to the Israelites, "I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from under the yoke of the Egyptians. I will free you from being slaves to them, and I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and with mighty acts of judgment." The words are rich with hope and power. God is not only a promise keeper but a mighty deliverer who will act with divine authority. But the Israelites struggled to believe, their hearts heavy with the weight of their oppression. Moses' reluctance. Moses, still hesitant and feeling unworthy, faces the daunting task of speaking to Pharaoh. He doubts his ability to lead, doubting the people will believe. But God insists that Moses is the instrument of his deliverance. It's not Moses' strength that will change Egypt, but God's power working through him. Exodus 6 verses 10-12. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go, tell Pharaoh king of Egypt to let the Israelites go out of his country." Moses' reluctance grows as he speaks his doubts aloud, but God is firm in his direction, giving Moses the authority to confront Pharaoh and proclaim the release of the Israelites. A new beginning in God's timing. The scene transitions to the genealogy of the Levites, emphasizing the future leaders of Israel who will carry God's promises forward. Through this lineage, God's plan is unfolding, even in ways unseen. Exodus 6 verses 13-30. The genealogy is listed, showing the faithfulness of God in preserving his covenant people through the generations. This moment might seem mundane, but it serves as a reminder that God's timing is always perfect, and his plan is always unfolding. The unbreakable promise. The chapter ends with Moses once again being called to deliver God's message. Though the people struggle with unbelief, God remains unshaken in his commitment to deliver his people. Moses, though reluctant, knows that God's plan will not fail. Exodus 6 verses 28 to 30. Now when the Lord spoke to Moses in Egypt, he said to him, I am the Lord. Tell Pharaoh king of Egypt everything I tell you. Though Moses still struggles with doubt, he knows that God's will is unchangeable. The darkness of Egypt will soon be pierced by the light of God's deliverance. In Exodus 6, we see the unfolding of God's promise to deliver his people from slavery, with each step marked by divine revelation, unwavering promise, and the power of God's mighty hand. Through Moses, God calls forth deliverance, but the people must learn to trust in the unseen. This story reminds us that no matter how dark the situation seems, God's promises never fail, and his power to deliver is greater than any earthly authority.